Hi, thanks for watching Old Guy Tech TV, Opinion versus Opinion. I'm here today with my guest hosts, Jonathan Charney, John Manichasik, and of course, I'm the old guy, Rob Charney, and we have a number of different things to talk about today. And we can take them in a lot of different orders. There's just so much news and so many things going on. It's almost hard to start. But John sent me an email and he said, hey, listen, we should probably talk a little bit about net neutrality and the possibility of losing this issue. And John, was there anything in particular that you wanted us to talk about that struck your interest?
Well, you know, I don't fully understand what they mean by net neutrality. I know that there were references made about, you know, providers, AT&T, Verizon, et cetera, you know, which is the old mother phone company rearing its head again. And that basically that, you know, we were going to have to pay for things that are now otherwise at no cost to us on the net. And that, you know, like so many other things in this country, it was going to be controlled by money.
Yeah, and that's 100% what it's all about. So net neutrality situation is where right now all of us on the internet, we're able to get to all the sites equally. In other words, you go to Old Guy Tech's website, you can get to it as equal as you can get to Google, as you can get to Microsoft, as you can get to Oracle, you know, the big guys. So we're equal at this point. But what's happening, and it's in the courts now, is that AT&T and some of the big backbone providers want to be able to have you pay for access. Basically, what they're saying to us, the small guys, Old Guy Tech TV, if you want to be as equal as Microsoft, you're going to actually have to pay us to allow that to happen. And so basically it's coming down to is the guys that are making the billions of dollars anyway want to make more money on the fact that, you know, pay for play type of situation. We all pay for internet as it is now. We all have a provider that we have to pay in one form or another. Now they want it to be multiple payers. And this is an issue that should worry all of us because it's taking away what the internet was all about. We all had the freedom to put up what we want to put up, to show what we want to show. Shows like Old Guy Tech TV and Opinion versus Opinion would never happen if we had to also pay on top of what we're paying now to bring it and be equal to the rest of the world. And that's the issue that we're really looking at. We're looking at, what does it come down to? Dollars and cents. They don't make enough money, they being the big backbone providers, AT&T, Com3 and some of the other majors, and that's what it's coming down to. And what scares me the most is it's in the hand of the courts now. It was normally controlled by the FCC. FCC set out these rules, and it was determined a number of years ago that we're going to stay with net neutrality. Everybody's going to be equal on the internet, and you're not going to have to pay for play. Well, so what's happened, of course, is the big players have sued, and they're bringing it into a court. And it's in front of a judge. And you know what? I have no idea where it's going to go.
Well, the FCC doesn't have as much power as it used to be. I mean, it's kind of been neutered a little bit in some areas just because
No, it's been neutered a lot.
Yeah.
Well, part of it is just because the natural progression of technology and it not, you know, it has people haven't been following up with that, you know.
That's not the old gorilla joke, guys. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, because, you know, back even 30 years ago, you had radio and standard television, you know, and that's what pretty much
That was it.
That's it. And it's still pretty much only the FCC really controls.
Well, and you have to remember, and I don't mean I'm not assessing blame, but during W's administration, when Colin Powell's son was the head of the FCC, we deregulated the hell out of the FCC. The FCC doesn't have the power it used to have. And the net neutrality issue, you know, resonates with what we were talking about last week with taxing internet transactions. They're not making enough money. And amazingly, there was a show on PBS. It was a Frontline show. I still lived in L.A., so it was well over 30 years ago. Yeah. And they said, in our future, what is the most valuable asset will be information.
Right.
The more you pay, the more you'll be allowed to access. And if you don't have money, you won't have information. And that's kind of that's what this net neutrality is saying. That we can't do old guy tech TV as American citizens, as individuals, to take an hour of your time and our time and talk about things openly and frankly. And it's issues like this that are very bothersome to me, because and across the board, we're no longer about equality or equity. We're all about, well, you need to pay me to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
You can't do that for free.
Well, it's even worse for companies like Google when you have AT&T saying, well, you have all these customers, you need to pay us so much money per customer or they're just not going to be able to have access. I mean, all of a sudden you have AT&T playing, a mobster.
You have MBA mentalities that say, hey, we got to get paid for this. It's got value. Well, there's perceived and there's perceived value. And, the service value, it's kind of like what I was talking about last week when I said, be careful what you ask for government, because if you want government to run like a business, it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, some parts of running as government as a business is a good thing, but not entirely running as a business, no, because it doesn't work.
Well, it's back to the deregulation.
What parts are good things, Jonathan? I just want to know.
The good thing about a business is looking what things work and what things don't. Some businesses have the ability to say, this isn't working, let's change, move, be more mobile, and then let's go forward. If government was able to do that in certain areas, I think it would be more beneficial to the people, instead of being a giant lumbering Titanic of a bureaucracy.
Well, but then you're making decisions at that level there are 340 million of us, and in a democracy in some way, shape, or form, we're supposed to have some voice in it, which makes it very cumbersome, but also moves it at a speed where you can't move so quickly, where you go, oops.
Yeah,
we probably shouldn't have done that.
And I'm more talking about, say, for example, social programs. If they find out there's a huge amount of fraud and it's not really, it's no longer doing what its purpose is the ability to quickly see, okay, how can we help more people, remove the fraud? That's something I think at least some parts of government need more. But you can't run it entirely like a business because it's just physically not possible.
Well, but that kind of goes back to what we were talking about before we got on air. Now we find out that Gandhi wasn't perfect. And now we find out, well, Kennedy wasn't perfect. And now we find, the thing of it is, and part of what full disclosure and full media, 24/7 news cycle access has done is, hey, guess what? Our best and our brightest, who may have smoked dope or snorted that line of cocaine or done something that was not right, guess what? That's no longer business. That's none of your business. We have, and again, it just resonates with no privacy.
Yeah.
In other words, you have none.
There is
Everything
none.
you've ever done is fair game and open.
I have no problem with full disclosure if you actually do it. I'm a big fan of the idea of transparency in government, and we're now under one of the least transparent governments in the last 10 years. But
if you want to join in, 530-621-1210. 621-1210 is our phone number. Give us a call. Join in on this conversation.
I think part of the problem, though, is people, is some of these guys don't admit to it. If somebody says, I don't know, the politician A smoked a lot of weed, instead of coming out and saying, yeah, I did it,
Marion Barry was caught on film smoking crack cocaine.
So was the mayor of Toronto yesterday.
Yes.
Who said it was during a drunken stupor.
But my point about Marion Barry was he got reelected.
But here's the thing. But
the guy that went to South America was his mistress as governor that had to resign, got elected as what? A senator?
Yeah. Yeah.
We have short memories. And our morals
we do.
Are,
Let's bring this back to what's happening here and how important it is for all those viewers to kind of understand what's happening with net neutrality, because what it's going to do is it's going to make a tiered system that you're going to end up having to pay to get to the information that you want to get to. So, I mean, if you're going to,
Well, I've got a perfect example.
All right, good. Let's go.
It would be, there's two ways to do it. Think of what everybody wants the internet to be is, say, your power company. They just give you the power, you do what you want with it, and they just send you the bill for what you've used. And then what they want to turn it to is more like the cable company, where you have to pay for Discovery Channel, Cartoon Network, MSNBC. Well, they want you to pay for access for everything, instead of being like the power company, where you just turn on the switch and you get billed later.
Yeah, it's very, very scary.
Actually, you make a rather large deposit and then get paid for it later.
Well, yeah.
Like if God, lucky enough to get my own place again, I'm going to have to put up tons of money to get utilities.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of people, there's pundits out there that want the internet to be treated like a power company, because they just give you the bits, and you can do what you want with it. There's problems with it, and there's with some of it, but it's a lot better than having me being billed for going to Google, or Google being billed for me going to Google.
Well, that's going to be the problem. They're going to put up fences, and you're going to say, okay, I want to go to google.com, and unless you're a member of google.com, you'll have to PayPal it, say, okay, now let me in. They'll open the gate and you can come in. And that's what's going to happen. They're going to make it so that if you want to get to certain sites, certain information, or whatever, you're going to hit a locked fence. And to get past that, you're going to have to pay.
Now, I would suggest at the moment, and I find it intractable, that most people with cable TV, most average consumers are paying a media bill between your high speed, your TV, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, many things on the cable TV that you don't access, of $100 plus a month.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And use it. And if you have a landline, just for telephone service, it's bloody expensive.
It is.
The craziest thing is bundling, which includes your internet and your cable television.
Yeah,
all
they
that.
want to tie everything together.
It's cheaper that way than to do it individually, and sometimes you can't actually separate the two. They'll be like, nope, you have to get cable. You have no choice.
And the offers are made as an incentive. If you get this, this, and this, we'll charge you this much for 90 days.
Yeah.
It's a bait and switch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if you don't gripe at them and say, hey, no, I'm not paying that. I'm going to someplace. I mean, it's just like the example that I've been with Sprint since 1995.
Holy shit.
That's my cell phone provider. Don't curse. We lose people when you do that.
No, I'm just surprised people are still on Sprint. Dear God.
Well, yeah, believe me, the school I was at today, I might as well have used my shoe, because between the LG phone that I have and the provider I have, the kids are all on the internet, and I'm sitting there going, I can't play. That makes me a nasty guy. But the thing of it is, they have no desire. They got rid of their preferred customer program now in all the years I've been with them 5 different times. In other words, retention of a client or retention of a customer is no longer important. They want you to turn over. Somehow they make money on the churn. Right now with that provider, I could lower my bill, but I'd have to get an additional line or transfer from another phone company. They cut out any benefit I had for being with them for, a really long time. And I've said to them more than once, over 18 years, how much freaking money I have paid you? Yeah. And you don't care.
And you don't care.
Well, because everything, and part of this, guys, is that we no longer plan long term. CEOs lose their jobs if 2 quarters are down. Right. We have no long-term planning. We don't care about long-term. We want it all. We want it now. We want to get paid now. And there's no long-term goal-setting planning, and it's difficult in my position as a teacher to get through to kids. Hey, as a junior, you need to start thinking about what college you want to go to, because they don't want to think that far ahead.
Right. My favorite thing about the story about CEOs losing their job is HP. One part bought Palm. They made one of the very first Palm pilots. PDAs. If anybody out there, personal digital assistants, and they bought the Palm OS. I don't remember what it was called.
Palm
So,
OS?
huh?
Palm OS.
Yeah, Palm. I thought it was called something else, but they bought their new actual smartphone operating system. Then the people in charge of HP on the board fired that guy, hired another person. Then that person said, "Oh, we're going to stop doing computing." And then I think they fired that person, got another person that said, "No, right. we're making computers again."
Computers back. Yeah, it was the same thing as them making their version of these tablets.
I actually have an HP. Said we're not going to make computers.
Yeah. And that was HP. That's.
Can you believe that? I mean, that was literally the mentality. And they made tablets. I have an HP tablet running on Palm OS. Believe it or not, I don't use it for anything because it isn't supported. But it was kind of interesting.
Hey, a friend of ours at one point, his mother, who was one of the first Fortran, one of the first computer people, she had an Apple Lisa.
Oh wow!
Jeez.
Yeah. Wow. At the time, she spent big dollars for that.
Well,
they still have it?
At the time, her son worked, and she got it. It worked for actually worked for Xerox, and Xerox and Apple had some kind of an agreement. So she got it. And I told her, I mean, because you talk about a failure, almost instantaneous failure by our friends at Apple. I said, I'd hold on to that thing because it's going to be worth something in the future.
The guys still have it?
Yeah.
So here's a little backstory.
Museum
If
piece.
Anybody who's not a geek out there, Xerox, the company that makes Xerox copiers, actually invented one of the primary inventors of the GUI, which is a graphical interface. Apple kind of borrowed one of the computers, and later it came out with a graphical user interface. Mm-hmm. So
actually, Xerox opened the door.
Yeah, they basically allowed it.
No, hey, Xerox actually originated it.
Yeah,
and then the guy that created the op system for, and then IBM sued. IBM doesn't win that suit, or Microsoft doesn't win that suit. It's a completely different computer world. And for the op system, and
my favorite part about the whole thing was later on Microsoft kind of did the same thing with Windows, and the legend goes that Steve Jobs was pissed, the story basically allegedly goes Bill Gates said, and
well, you have to remember that Gates worked for Jobs and Wozniak. He's one of the reasons why Wozniak said, I'm okay.
Well, Microsoft worked for it. Microsoft, the company, not Bill Gates.
Bill Gates actually, he wrote code and sold the code to them. That's how he started.
Yeah.
To Jobs. But anyway, so right back to net neutrality again, the close out this subject is that I hope everybody pays attention to what's going on with this and just doesn't brush it aside, because believe me, folks, this is very important. And it could mean the difference between what we have today as internet may completely change tomorrow if net neutrality changes.
The only thing we'd have going for it if this changes is you'd hope that the Supreme Court would, say yes to it, and then hope the
Supreme Court?
You'd like to think the Supreme Court would actually say, okay, this is what it is. But, of course, you realize even the president doesn't really read his own email.
Well, it's not in front of the Supremes right at the moment.
No, but that's the ultimate thing if it happens, that going to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court would say it must stay neutral, because I'd like to think they realize that it's a financial means, that if this does this, it kills a lot of the economy.
Well, not only that, but what it comes down to, and here's the issue, people have said it all the time, who owns the internet? See, there's the question, who owns it? Nope. Nobody owns it. It is, all right? We all own it. We all pay. Again, I have an ISP bill. You have an ISP bill. So you're getting a connectivity from something, cable, copper, satellite, whatever it may be. So we're all paying to get on the internet already. Mm-hmm. But the fact is...
to have access to.
Yeah. We're granting us access, but, it's the old line... some of the old timers don't understand it. Well, who owns the internet? Well, nobody owns the internet. It just is. And
although other countries, you would think that the United States own the internet.
Well,
Because we were the .com people.
Well, we invented the internet. Technically, we supplied the background to it.
What would we have done without Al Gore?
Well,
right.
But I mean,
come on, Al, call 621-1210. Tell us how much you did.
I think there's people like Tim Berners-Lee, which, if not mistaken, I think he's British, but they're the America, the DARPA funded it. I mean, basically,
it was under a military project.
Our good friends at Xerox many years ago, back to our common friend, they had a World Wide Web before there was ever a World Wide Web at Xerox, because our in-common friend and I wanted a recipe for Yorkshire pudding. So we put it out on the Xerox web, and we got like 230 different recipes from Xerox, people that work for Xerox worldwide that responded to his inquiry for who's got a recipe for Yorkshire pudding.
That would have been more like an intranet, wouldn't it?
Actually, it would probably have been more like a BBS.
Yeah.
It was a BBS is what it was, and that because that's all predated internet. And,
Token ring.
You've got to remember like we ran a BBS. We were the big guys in our area. We actually had 10 incoming lines, and there were people on it all the time and stuff. And this was the foundation of the internet, and that's what Xerox had. They had their version of that as well.
But it was worldwide, because there were people that worked for Xerox worldwide. Sure. It's funny that we bring up HP and Xerox, who, in their early incantations or in their early forms, were some of the best companies with benefits to work for, and now, not so much.
Yeah, look at them now.
I mean, used to provide childcare and were very innovative, flexible hours, all these kind of things. Work from home, and they, we closed that down, and I'm not sure that it's a good or a bad idea. I think that the management changed.
Right. Well, what happened is they realized...
Actually, I know many people that used to work for Xerox that when they made the change, they were fired and then rehired as independent contractors because it was considerably cheaper.
Right. Well, okay, so we covered net neutrality. We haven't... I came across this just recently about a scam that I think everybody kind of needs to keep an eye on that I want to talk about.
Hello?
Been happening recently. Oh, gee. I have to...
Sorry.
I'm going to mute John for a minute. Anyway, one of the things that happened here was that a customer was shopping at Walmart. Now, I'm not blaming Walmart for anything in particular, because this is a scam that could be done anywhere. And what it is that they bought a number of items, over $150 worth of items. And the checker is, handing them the bags, they're putting in their cart.
Oh,
they just happened to look at their receipt. And on the receipt, it said cashback $40. Interesting enough, they never asked for the $40, nor did they get the $40. And so all of a sudden she said, well, wait a minute. I didn't ask for any cash, nor did you give me any cash. Well, there's, I can't cancel it out. But I'll give you the $40. And the lady said, no. I don't want that $40. You need to cancel it out. They called over a supervisor at Walmart, and the supervisor said, no, I'm sorry. We can't do anything about it. We can't cancel it out. And I don't know if John's back or not.
I'm back.
Okay. So anyway,
I had to take a job.
Yeah, I understood. We muted you for a minute, but we brought you back. Anyway, so what happened is they had to rescan everything through. And so what this happened is all of a sudden people started looking at their receipts, and they started saying, you know what? I didn't ask for this cash back, and I didn't get this cash back, but I didn't look at my receipt, and I walked out the door. So what happens is we have a scam that is nationwide, and what's happening is we have people working as checkers that are, let's say, enhancing their income by not telling the customer that they've put a cashback amount on that receipt and not giving that customer the cash. Customers walked out the door, and the cashier is putting the money in their pocket. So I want you guys to all start watching your receipts and, watch that. It's so easy to get in a hurry and think that checker is just checking this stuff out and it's just going and going and going. And, usually when you pay by credit card, you do it in a PIN pad and it pops up and says, do you want cash back? And I've rarely ever asked for it. And
Wait,
but yeah,
how did,
it showed up on the receipt.
I didn't think the checker could actually.
Yep, they can actually add it.
They have to activate it.
Yep.
Well, I didn't think they could actually. I thought you had to hit the 20 if you wanted 20. I didn't know they could do it.
Cashier could do it.
What a great scam during the holidays.
Yeah.
All the more reason to not go shop on Black Friday where you overstuff the stores and you're in a hurry and not paying attention.
Yeah. So
I'm still more worried about being killed on Black Friday by the herd of people, but that actually happens every year. Believe it or not.
Anyway, no. The point is, let's get back to it. This is serious because this is talking about some big money.
Oh, totally.
Pay attention to your receipt. Watch what's happening because not everybody smiling behind a cash register is your friend.
No. And if there was, and you have the situation, I don't know if you saw the conversation that went on Facebook with me and another friend this week. If you're working at Walmart, you might as well make a little bit more cash. A huge volume goes through there. The incentive is, and I just applied for a job with Costco, which I probably won't get because guess what? They run a retail credit check.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And because I've not gone bankrupt yet, I will probably be deemed unsavory and a risk. And I am the last guy that would ever take somebody's money that wasn't mine.
You sure they just don't like your politics?
Costco happens to be a very progressive company.
But the point is,
pay people $15 an hour in benefits.
They're a good company. If you can get a job at Costco and actually not just be a holiday worker and get a full-time job, it's not a bad company to work for. I've talked to a number of
They pay better than being a teacher.
Yeah.
Almost everything pays better than being a teacher, unfortunately.
Yeah. But anyway.
No, and we've had that conversation before, but I agree with your dad, Rob.
Yeah,
That
Rob.
I mean, we get so wrapped up into the holidays. I mean, it's so Pavlovian.
Yeah.
We've got to spend money. I just saw the Walmart commercials the other day that you get a discount if you put toys on layaway.
Yeah. Christmas. I saw my very first Christmas commercial about 4 or 5 days ago.
Jeez.
Pushing Christmas already.
Hey, when we were kids, Jonathan, it was like, oh man, they put up the Christmas decorations over the streets of Santa Monica, like right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Well,
now, and the thing of it is, we're a consumer economy, and ladies and gentlemen, I said this last weekend, I say it to you again this weekend. Don't do anything for Black Friday. I mean, people are PO'd because Kmart is opening at 6 a.m. on Thanksgiving Day.
Jeez.
Right.
They're pushing back. Buy. They're gonna start November the 1st. They're gonna start right after Halloween, which is the second largest retail holiday in the United States.
Right.
So they just want to make it a continuing buying frenzy, and don't go to Walmart. Don't go to Costco. Go to your local shop owner. If you've got a local grocery store, get your turkey from them. I mean, we really, if you want to get any control back in this country, we have to, and they've destroyed eBay, which used to be a consumer marketplace. I have to mute me again, would you?
Okay. So much for that that discussion. But anyway, the point was, and my point being that we lost my background. I'm running the background, folks, on my iPad. Sorry about that. Anyway, it started out with just being careful about what you're doing when you're shopping, and actually take a moment and read your receipts. I'm guilty of it as much as anybody, of just, ring it up and, where would you like your receipts? They're in the bag? And, oh yeah, just stick it in the bag and walk out the door and never really look at that receipt. Trust me, my habits have changed. I no longer not look at my receipt, and I think it behooves you to also make sure that you look at your receipts just to make sure that something isn't either rung up that you didn't buy, and or a cashback that you didn't want. Because once you walk out those doors, there's absolutely no way of proving. It's they said against you said, and the security at most of the stores, they watch the cashier drawers, but if they can tell or not, that's another story. I don't really know how to help you with that, but I think, John, this is something that we all probably need to encourage our friends and family to make sure that you do take a look at your receipts and watch those cashback scams. So this could be a big one.
Man, I hope John hurries up with his phone conversation. I had something I wanted to see what he would say.
Okay.
Well,
I had to turn the job down because it was Wednesday next week, and I wouldn't have made it back by 4.
Oh, it's kind of you. We could have done the show later.
Nah.
I do want to. I do want to have something, and maybe I might be baiting John a little bit, but my opinion on the holidays is I think the holidays has lost their reverence because of the secularization of the holidays. It's no longer a time to get together with family, remember the lost and loved ones, and it's becoming a holiday that just it's a mass marketed, hey, buy more crap you don't actually need.
Well, the thing of it is, no, it's you have to fully understand, and most people don't, and maybe. Post World War II, somebody decided, okay, that we were no longer going to be a production economy. We were going to be a consumer economy. And some 60 years later, it's all buy. The only way this economy stays alive is if you spend money. Right. Therefore, uncontrolled capitalism, which is not what Adam Smith defined as capitalism, just becomes, hey, we need to make money. And if it doesn't have a profit at the end of it, then that's why I asked you about efficiencies. If it doesn't have a profit, if we didn't make money, then we shouldn't do it.
Well,
that aspect on its own would destroy what you're talking about at the holidays. Well, yeah. Because guess what? The holidays are all about getting together with friends and family and sharing joy and that kind of stuff was the old concept. Now it's like, how much did you spend?
Yeah.
Well, what I really meant for is the business quality is businesses, I think uniquely, a good business has the ability to see what's benefiting them, what's working, what's not. And I think if you took that idea into a government situation and see what's working the best, because the government's job is to help people to, there's certain roles.
So the only problem with that, Jonathan, is it's very short term.
Well, yes, but part of that has to be a long-term vision, because a business should also have a long-term goal. So
they don't.
Well, they
not
need
any longer.
That's hard. It's hard to make a long-term goal any longer because things flip. You get a situation in the economy. I was a victim of that with one of my businesses where we started a little war, and all of a sudden everybody got freaked out and stopped spending money, and people weren't walking in that door anymore, and I had no choice but to shut down.
Well, that's part of the ability of being flexible. Unfortunately, you got to have a long-term goal, but you got to have the ability to realize, okay, this is going to work. This goes on hold. Shove that back. Move this way.
What's happened, I think, is
John
hit the point.
In government.
What John said is, shop locally, and of course that's
kind of hard when there's nothing around in Placerville.
I know, and that's the word that we all use. Try to shop local, and it's become more and more difficult. All we have to do is go in the town of Placerville, which is fairly close to us, and drive up and down Main Street and look at all the closed storefronts. It's a victim, like many other small towns. The people just don't go downtown to shop anymore. The city didn't help things either by putting parking meters up and only 2 hours free parking, by the way. So the city is partly the blame for this as well. Instead of welcoming people to our city, let's fine them so we can make more money.
Remember when Santa Monica's parking structures were free?
Yeah.
They're not anymore.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
And they've been there for how long?
Yeah. And it just I don't understand cities that do this type of thing. You want people to come in to spend money in your local stores that pay taxes that you get a portion of, and you're going to penalize them by putting parking meters in there. And God forbid they go over 2 minutes of that meter, and that little meter reader is out there writing a $35, $40 ticket.
That's cheap, 35, 40.
Well, you're right. I haven't had one ever.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with doing with the building departments. You have cities that, it'll cost you an arm and a leg just to get a permit. Well, that building, if it's a consumer, if it's was it non-residential? My mind isn't working right now.
Commercial.
If it's commercial property, you're also, that's a business. That's a lot of things that you're getting property on and taxes on. But because they want the money up front, they're going to raise the rates, and the builder says, "Screw it, I'll just go down this block."
And it happens a lot.
What Rob was saying in Santa Monica, which where Rob and I grew up, they while we were in high school, they built an outdoor mall. And they have renovated it many times over. It's now become total foo-foo shishi. It's more Beverly Hills, Century City than Beverly Hills ever was. Yeah. And the thing of it was, they built parking structures, and they were free.
Right.
Now you have to pay for them. And the city of Santa Monica has a sales tax of 10% or more.
Wow. Really?
Yes.
It's
Holy crap.
Well, now you know why it's become such an elitist area. I mean, you
can't shop there.
Yeah.
Which,
I have friends that do, and I just look at them and go, yikes.
So, by the way, would you ever think, a town that was colloquially known as Dogtown and other things, do you ever think that area become, that way?
Dogtown was, purely for the locals, and it is a manufactured term from your fathers and my youth.
Well, yeah. But I've heard... the stuff I've heard about Santa Monica back in the day from you guys and older, I would have never thought of Santa Monica becoming that way.
Well, but the thing of it is, it's one of the most desirable places in all of Los Angeles to live because it's by the beach. And what they've done is they've taken that rather, it was always expensive. When my parents moved there in 1960, it cost them $17,500 for a house.
Right.
That was a lot of money.
So, hold on. On that one, what was the price of an average house outside of Santa Monica in Los Angeles?
Probably 10, 11, 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the numbers are so different now.
Premium.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's 1962. I think my parents bought we lived in an apartment before that. They bought their first house, and I think they paid maybe $11,000 for it.
Wow.
On Hill Street.
But that was a lot of money back then.
Yeah. It was a lot of money.
$17,500. We were on 22nd Street between Ocean Park and Pearl.
Right.
But the reason why that was more than the Hill Street address that you had, which was on the hill, probably by Chris Long, is because we were closer to Douglas, which was a high-paying aerospace government job. And our next-door neighbors, which for Santa Monica, people don't realize this, and we're way up, but my next door neighbors were Mexicans. But because of the first March on Washington that did not happen, A. Philip Randolph forced FDR's hand. He said, "I'll bring 1 million minorities to the mall in Washington if you don't sign an executive order saying that minorities will be employed equally in the war effort," which gave a lot of African Americans and Hispanics and Orientals an opportunity for a job during the war in the war industry.
Yeah. And Santa Monica was big in the war industry with McDonnell Douglas.
It was Douglas, Rob.
Yeah. They were it. We were knocking out airplanes like crazy. And it goes so far back in when we were in high school, they had it was called the McDonnell Douglas Science Club.
Yep.
And they actually gave us a room in Douglas. Again. What's that, Jonathan?
There's something that would never happen.
Oh, no. They gave us, it was unbelievable what they did. I was part of that club from a sophomore on up. They gave us this scientific room. They gave us this room that we had access to 24/7. They gave us all these electronics. They gave us all this stuff and said, go experiment, have fun. And we had an advisor that...
And you signed away your patent rights.
Yes, of course. But hey, we had a great time. It was super.
Rob, how long was them firing a jet engine on the jet stand at 7 a.m. in the morning? Your alarm clock.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
mine.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, no. Here's a question, and this is
Now
kind
we're
of
talking history. Now we're into history. History is cinema.
here. My question is: in modern day, would you have a company that made instruments of war sponsor a classroom? Because I don't see that would ever happen.
Now,
Well, not nowadays, but I will tell you in Taft, California, there's what's called the Oil Institute at their high school, and it is a high school within the high school that is funded by Chevron. That these kids that qualify and enroll in the Oil Institute with also career training, they've got an in to be hired by Chevron when they graduate from high school.
there you go.
Wow.
We need more of that. That's the type of thing that we need to start getting back, like McDonnell Douglas, like Chevron's doing.
Oh,
at
believe
Taft,
me,
like,
private industry will under the ultimate future of quote unquote public education. Because part of the problem is now is we're putting out people from high school that are, as we well know, fully unqualified to do anything other than to say, you want fries with that. Yeah. A very small percentage are ready for a real job.
This was what happens when you get rid of shop class.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, John. Now, at the schools that you're teaching at, what's the situation with the shop classes? Do they have them? Do they not? No shop.
And the only one is in Taft, and because they're the richest school district in California because of the oil money.
Right.
They have an auto shop. They have shop classes, but it's ROC. And they work. It's acclimating some of the students to real occupations. I look at the kids today, and we were watching Gandhi, and I'm talking about, I do this show with friends, and I'm always talking about you got to get out in the streets, you got to demonstrate.
Right.
That peaceful demonstration is the only way that effective change has ever come about. And one kid said, "Huh?"
Didn't understand
Well,
it, did
but
I had kids, they watched the movie yesterday.
Yeah.
They didn't bring their film notes to today. I say this to kids all the time. I was in a class for a week and wrote on the board in great big red letters, you need to bring your book every day this week. Rob, didn't we have to bring our book every day, regardless?
Day.
Well, this is what you get when you have a generation full of people who no longer have the History Channel as I knew it, where you could actually learn something instead of this.
Is over-exaggerated in most cases now.
Well, now the History Channel's.
Was it Lincoln gay?
Well, now
I saw it on the History Channel.
Well, nowadays it's not History Channel. It's crappy reality programming instead of actually learning things interesting. I mean, TLC called the Learning Channel. The most thing you learn about it is the fact that Honey Boo Boo's mom is overweight. Does that really help?
The thing of it is, Pawn Stars. I actually, while teaching continuation high school, when it got to be more than I could handle, I just crank up Pawn Stars.
Yeah.
But why? It
History.
showed them value,
Right.
negotiation for money, and they actually have experts that know what they're talking about that give you a history of the item and what it might. The guy from the museum will never give them a dollar price. He'll just verify it's all there, it's not all there, whatever.
Is it real? Is it not real? It's a great show, and they do a good job. And the owner of the shop, he's very knowledgeable on a lot of stuff. His name's Rick, and he does a great job. And it's a good show. When you talk about
matter of fact, they're all Richard Harrison. The old man, Rick, and Haas are all named Richard Harrison.
Right. Yep. Anyway,
And they all look. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, they look like the Simpsons.
They do. They're good. That's a good show. But I want to jump back into this school situation without shop classes because it really pains me because. I went through wood shop, I went through metal shop, I went through electric shop, I went through auto shop, I did drafting, we had a drafting class. I mean, we did all these things, and the skills that I have now, I can find a job just about in anything, or at least I used to be able to. At 60 years old, it's not going to happen. But the fact is I had a skill set.
On the other hand, I was in the the revitalized Excel program when we were going to junior high school. So all I was allowed to take was drafting.
Yeah.
And then I only had one elective, and I loved band.
Band, yeah.
So my only elective, I didn't get to take wood shop. I couldn't. Out of a 6-period day, not a 7-period day, you had 5 solids, and I guess they've changed that over time. But the problem with it is, and here again, you have UTI. You have all of these privately owned vocational colleges that if you want to do that, you've got to take a student loan, you've got to get money, you have to get it, you can get scholarships, but no longer do we offer in a public education an occupational path for those that, hey, I'm not a mechanic, but I'm not a mechanic because I never. And junior high school being your most receptive time in life to learn things. You'll never forget things that you learned in that 12 plus or 11 plus years of your life. My father wasn't mechanical. I never got to take those classes to learn those skills. Therefore, I'm now. On the other hand, I can tell you exactly what's wrong with the car and how you should fix it. Just don't hand me the wrenches. Bad idea.
It's just a shame that we've gotten so far away from that, because for me it's such a foundation. I had an opportunity. Unlike you, I had a father that was very skilled. He was an electrician. He was an auto mechanic. He was, and I got the opportunity to not only take it in school, but to also work with my father in these different things. So, like this frame that you're in today, John, I welded this thing up, cut the steel, welded it, painted it, put it all together, out of skills that I learned back in junior high.
Right, of which conversely, my father was a national sales manager, was a consummate salesperson.
Hey, we have a caller.
Oh my gosh, let him in, quick.
Hi, caller. You're on Opinion versus Opinion. Who do we have?
Hey, it's Heather Charney.
Oh, hi, Heather Charney. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. What do you think?
I wanted to talk about, you guys were talking about shop class and electronics class, and I, at the age of 30, took cosmetology class. And there was also a dental tech class next to it. And they would allow high school students who were actually already in high school to take those trade school classes while they were still in high school.
Right. You had an opportunity in an area, it's called ROP, right?
Regional Occupation
ROP.
Programming.
Yeah,
program.
and so it's you can be an adult and take these classes. You can be in high school and take these classes, and it's minimal cost. I mean, this is actually an ideal program if you want to learn a skill like Heather did. Like I said, there's dental assistant schools there, right, Heather? And beautician school, is that what it was?
Yeah, and I guess my point is that it's great because these students who are still in high school and want to have a career can take these classes while they're in high school. So there was one girl, she was very, very young. She was only 16, but she was able to, and she was only a sophomore, she was able to take her classes during a certain point of the day, and then she would leave high school at 12 o'clock and come to cosmetology school till 5:30. I mean, that's quite a load, but the fact that she was able to do something like that, and the fact that this county offers
promotes that.
It actually develops entrepreneurism.
Right.
If you have a skill and you can open a shop or work out of your home, and start a business and start money rolling, I mean, it gives you a future. It's why I'm in favor of a $10 minimum wage.
Yeah.
$1,600 a month, $19,200 a year. Not enough, but enough to get you going.
Get you started.
So you can figure out where you want to go from there.
See, now, and this was a program that Heather took place, was open to everybody. I mean, you had to wait. It took you a couple of years.
RP's open to all high school campuses have it. I don't know how much kids
take advantage of it.
Well, or they're encouraged to do it. I mean, I had a very small general class today, And I don't know that these kids that at that particular high school they're being encouraged to take the RO. If your interest is not academics in high school, which many people's is not,
Right.
but if you had something that could occupy you, and how many? I mean, all of my drag racers, had shop class. And and just like you, Rob, they learned how to weld. They learned how to fix things. Skills that I am really envious of.
Yeah.
Because I can think and I can theorize and I can make business models and I can tell you how to sell it. I can sell it for you, but I can't fix it, manufacture it, and I can create intellectual property, but I can't, make a frame and paint it, Rob.
Well, unfortunately, that's and that is where we've gone. Heather with ROP is a good example, but it's limited also. I mean, it's just a shame that we've gotten away from that model in school.
Well, I took
because not everybody. We've already said this. Not everybody's college bound. Not everybody's college material. And even if you are, it doesn't. You get that piece of paper.
Right out of high school, maybe, huh?
Yeah.
Well, when I was in high school, my senior year, I took something called ROP Graphic Arts and Printing. They took you through, using Photoshop, Illustrator, and AB offset press to printing, to making your own shirts. They took you through the whole gambit of that particular skill set from A to Z. And I enjoyed it. Matter of fact, in some ways, I knew more than the teacher in some things, but. I also didn't know about it until I went looking for it because I wanted to get out of school at 12 o'clock, and ROP was a way for me to get off campus.
Mm.
I think you're right, Dad, about, even so, say some 24-year-old gets his degree in quantum physics. Well, then what? So,
He's
in a
probably going to
sense,
be outsourced to another country at this point.
Yeah. Yeah,
well,
I don't know.
Because at the moment, we're having a huge brain drain in that sequester monies we just don't have research money. That's some of the first stuff that goes away. So that people that are now, and college costs way too damn much. Mm-hmm. I mean, you walk away, doctors, an MD walks away with owing $1 million. Yeah. For going to medical school.
And there's just no jobs. I mean, that's another thing is the job market, no matter what the news says, is not great. So you have less jobs, more bills, and you're leveling a generation who's never going to get out from under credit cards.
And the best and the brightest are going to Wall Street to sell derivatives to make big money.
Right. I don't know.
National service, the government, and it's become so corrupt. Who wants to work, although Virginia, who just, barely elected a Democrat, the Beltway, government money, K Street is paying huge dollars. Just huge dollars. Right. Be a lobbyist to influence what government does.
I just worry so much about the fact that we're losing our ability. I've been watching a number of documentaries recently on World War II, and it talked a lot about the fact that the real reason we won the war is that we just outproduced everybody. We could just make anything at any time and just keep it cranking.
But there was also another part of that. The fact
every GI came with a Jeep.
Yeah. But there's also another fact that every GI could fix Jeep.
That's right.
That a lot of these guys were farmers, or they understood how mechanical stuff works. So they on the battlefield, their tank, broke down. They'd go, crap. Okay, go bust out their spanners or wrenches and fix it.
Well, so my point is that I got so depressed watching this because I realized how much we've lost in this country. The skill sets, the manufacturing sets.
It's gone to Korea and to China. Korea now makes big things like generators and giant machines. A lot with Chinese steel.
Right. That's starting to at least change a little bit. I know Apple is going to start making some of their products in the United States.
Apple's going to bring some back.
But John, when you have Hyundai that makes the container, the ship, the cranes. They actually build things, and they don't even insure them because they own it from the cradle to the grave. South Korea now, I mean, I was just thinking about this the other day because I parked next to a Toyota. And I went, the two countries that we fought in World War II now produce probably over and are on our shores and employ Americans. They produce probably 60% of the automobiles.
I've got one example, since we're getting down to 3 minutes here, I have one example that just is killing me. It happens to be that the last company in the United States that was smeltering lead, taking ore and making lead because of EPA restrictions, has shut down.
But you got to save the environment. It's good for the environment.
Yeah. So we have absolutely no way any longer to get lead in our country. Now, let me carry this on here. Do we not need lead for not only batteries and everything else that's in there, but for ammunition?
No, because it's bad for the environment.
We're fighting how many wars and how many fronts, and we're making, we have companies.
That's why they're buying up all the ammo, Rob.
How are we going to make those bullets to save our country? Should we get into some kind of shit that we're going to really need to fight? And we have to go to China and say, China, please send us this lead so that we can get this ammunition made. And China says, you know what? We don't like what you're doing. We're not going to send it to you. Now what do we do?
They don't care. They don't care.
We really don't have a gas shortage, a petroleum shortage.
Oh, hell no.
We have a refinery shortage.
That's exactly right. And that's been that way for a long time.
Like 30, 40 years.
We've got some major problems happening in this country when you just look at something as simple as lead. Just say, oh my God, we have no company in this country that can give us lead. And then you look at all the things that we need that for, and you go, we're screwed. We're absolutely screwed.
And what are our natural resource reserves in lead?
Oh, it's huge. Huge.
So we put miners out of business. Yep. We put production jobs out of business.
Everything that goes down with that.
And the thing of it is, we're smart enough that if there's an EPA issue, we could probably engineer around it rather than saying, let's just get rid of that industry because it's not. And you're right. We still need lead.
That's right. We absolutely need it for so many things. So this is, let's wrap the show up.
Using it in gas, we didn't need it as much as we used to.
That's right.
Hey, no more number 2 pencils.
No, well, that was graphite anyway, honey.
They call them lead pencils, but it is graphite.
It's graphite. But anyway, we're going to wrap the show up. We're getting down to the seconds here, and I just want to really, I want you people out there, if you've taken the time to watch the show, and like Heather called in to help add to the show. Thank you, Heather, for calling in. And you've watched the show. I want to leave you with just this parting thought about where are we going in this country with our youngest, our brightest, and how are we destroying industry that we have no ability to even make a lead bullet in this country any longer. And so think about that, and we're going to wrap the show up. I want to thank Jon Discuss for joining us, John Charney, Heather Charney. I'm Rob Charney with Old Guy Tech TV. Thank you for watching Opinion versus Opinion. We'll see you next week. Hi, this is Rob Charney, Old Guy Tech TV, Opinion versus Opinion, and here I am today with our other hosts, Jonathan Charney and Jon Discuss. And one of the things we really need your help with is donations. This show runs entirely out of our pocketbook, and we need help. We want to continue to bring you these different shows, to try to bring you things that you may not see on the main media, and to try to do something different. So please, if you can, $5, $2, $10, $100, whatever you can do to help us out, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching Opinion versus Opinion. And remember, hit that donate button.
Yeah, because we have to play for the glowing blue headphones.
Right. There you go.